We're here at the Community Center, and Accessibility Advocates is meeting tonight, and we have Amanda Dixon, who is somewhat of an expert on what we're talking about tonight, and that is Medicaid waivers. So take it away.
Hi, I'm Amanda. I am a support coordinator with the Middle Peninsula Northern Neck Community Service Board. We service people through the 12 counties of the Middle Peninsula Northern Neck, and I specifically work with individuals of the intellectual disabilities and developmental disabilities population, along with their families and their authorized representatives.
For this meeting on
I don't
Medicaid
know.
waivers?
Deacon Sally called me and said that it might be something I would be interested. I don't know what it is.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Amanda is sharing about Medicaid waivers tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I met with Deacon Sally earlier today, and I was telling her about this.
Okay.
To
I'm
help
sorry.
maybe with
Thanks
the
for being
community-
here.
community.
I don't know what we're. Okay, cool.
You're going to find out. We
I'm gonna
just
find
got
out.
started.
Yes. So, pretty much, so what I do as a case manager is I work with individuals in the community who have intellectual developmental disabilities, and I help them get services, which is a big part of my job, which is wonderful. And there's pretty much two different types of waivers that I talk about with this. And the first one that we'll go over, I have handouts that I've given to Miss Debbie and Miss Sally that will be available. I'll also share the digital copies as well, but I got them from ARC of Virginia, which is a really good website. So the first type of waiver is called a CCC Plus waiver. It's the Commonwealth Coordinated Care Plus waiver, and that is through your Medicaid. So this first, and it's just got the dark border on the top, is the first one that I'm going to talk about. So this type of waiver is one that you can have without having case management services, so that's not required, but you are required to have Medicaid. And this provides care in your home that you may otherwise get at like a nursing facility. So this is to keep your home and community-based services, so you're not in a nursing facility or a training center or somewhere like that where you're more restricted. So the eligible population, and I'm gonna refer right to this sheet, is that you have to meet the nursing facility level of care and criteria. So that means you're functionally dependent or you have medical nursing needs. Individuals who are dependent upon technological support and require substantial ongoing skilled nursing care. So this is if you have any sort of medical devices that you're dependent on a daily basis to remain alive or remain in your home without being hospitalized.
Would that include something like oxygen?
Oxygen, feeding tubes,
Dialysis? I guess you'd have to go after that.
you'd have to go out for dialysis. And mind you, I'm not an expert on this. I don't work for Medicare. If you're interested in this waiver, before I go any farther, definitely call your care coordinator with Medicaid, or call on the back of your card, ask for your care coordinator, and they'll be able to direct you to somebody who can help get you signed up or let you know if you're eligible. Individuals who are eligible, their health, safety, and welfare of the individual must be safely maintained in the home when the nurse or personal care is not present. So they're able to maintain their safety, but they need an aid. They need an aid to thrive. If you're at risk for imminent nursing facility placement, and you're determined that community-based care services under the waiver are the critical services that allow you to remain at home. So this is the step before you go into nursing care, if you want to stay home as long as possible. So the covered services that and there's more on it. But the covered services are you can get a personal emergency response system. So think of Life Alert, help, I've fallen, I can't get up. There's many different companies that we work with. One specifically that comes to mind is Safe and Home, although Safe and Home eats at your one of the funding called assistive technology for it. But they have a personal response. So if you're out and about walking in your community and you fall, you get lost, you're winded, you need any sort of help, you click the button and somebody in your contact list, there you go. They can talk to you right through your device. They have respite services. So if you're living at home, you have somebody caring for you, maybe your caretaker needs a vacation, needs a weekend off. So that allows for funds for somebody else to care for you for that weekend, for those couple days that you need a break caring for somebody. Service facilitation, that's where you work with a company and get paid to care for the person, or you have a family member that cares for you and gets paid for it, which is really nice because it takes up a lot of your time, and sometimes you just need that little bit of extra money for somebody to care for you.
Well, and there are some folks who, parents who can't go out and work another job
Absolutely.
because of the skills needed to take care of their child. So that kind of gives them a partial income.
Mm-hmm.
And then the respite portion provides for someone else to get paid when they can go off. And sometimes it may be to go off and be alone or go off and join friends. And then sometimes respite is when a parent's going to take care of their own healthcare needs.
Absolutely.
Especially we have a population that is of parents who are significantly aging, and our children who we took care of when they were younger are getting older and older and older and still need a very high level of care.
Absolutely.
And so that's an important aspect of it.
Yes, so you're not the one and only. There's options if you need a break, which we need to take care of our own health. So there's adult day health cares. Unfortunately, in this area, they're not very common. The three that I know of, there is a adult day support that takes CCC plus waivers in Hanover. It's called Hanover Linking Lives. And there's two programs in Tappahannock that I know of. I'm not sure if they're solely CCC plus or if you can use your regular insurance. Charter House Clubhouse, you need to have a co-occurring mental health diagnosis with it, and your intellectual functioning needs to be at a certain level because it's a higher functioning population. And then there's Warsaw Peer Recovery Services in Warsaw, and that has a co-occurring substance use disorder. They're both really great. You don't have to have the more extensive waiver that I'll talk about in a minute, but they're great resources. So there's assistive technologies and environmental modifications. So that is funds that you have for things like the PERS device, the Life Alert personal response system device. That's an assistive technology. If you have a speech therapist and require a speech device, there's money through Medicaid to get that device. If you need a ramp because you have a wheelchair and you can't fund that. Assistive technology and environmental modifications have $5,000 each. It can be a lengthy process, but it's a very good process to have when you don't have that $5,000 for something you need. So there's personal care services that are agency directed and consumer directed. That pairs with service facilitation, where either your family member can take care of you, or there are some companies that have aides that come out. The one that I've had the most luck with recently, because they're short on staff, is called Qualis Home Healthcare. And then there's private duty nursing for RNs or LPNs, and that's for your higher medical needs you have. So
And those things would all keep someone, so if someone has an aging relative who can no longer be left alone in their home and is now in need of a wheelchair, but yet they have stairs.
Yes.
Those are all the things. And then if they have breathing issues and need oxygen and may need, we've had friends who may not qualify for the highest level of nursing, but they have a home health nurse who stops in. You know, do you have your oxygen? Is it working? You know, what do we need to check? And they look at things like, what do I want to say? Like helping keep track of, especially for someone who's aging and now has no idea who they need to see. So they kind of check on their healthcare needs and, well, you need to see your general practitioner, but now we also need to go to this doctor and this doctor. And so there are people who are there to guide them.
Absolutely. And you don't have to worry about paying them out of pocket. That's the big thing about this. We all have people that we want to help, but sometimes we're just spread thin. So this helps with that service and to keep you in your home longer if that's what your goal is.
And this is through CCC Plus?
This is through CCC Plus, which is through your healthcare, Medicaid provider. So there are some service limitations. So for a personal care assistant, somebody to help you come in, you can't have more than 56 hours a week, which is 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, which that's a lot. For respite, which is that extra bit for those breaks built in, it's $480 per state fiscal year. So per any year, it's only $480, which if you think about it is a lot. $5,000 for both environmental modifications and assistive technologies. For private duty nursing, it cannot exceed more than 112 hours per week, which if you think about 56 hours per week is 7 days at 8 hours a day. 112 hours a week is a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah. And then transition services, I didn't cover that. Transition services are, so if you're transitioning from a nursing home or rehabilitation center to your own home, there's $5,000 in funds that you can access to help you get to there. Or I believe transition services also cover incarceration or like a rehab stay for other things than just medical rehab, where you can have that help getting back into your own life. Again, I'm not an expert.
So rather than coming out of a rehab and going into transitional housing, you can go back to your own house and there are services there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I got it.
Again, your care coordinator with your MCO, your care coordinator with your Medicaid provider would be able to help you with these resources, like,
Right.
and get you the actual numbers to call.
Are probation officers aware of this?
I'm not sure.
Good.
I'm not sure at all. I know at the CSB we have a couple transitional houses that the local probation officers are aware of,
Yeah.
that we have people move into, like the discovery houses.
Right.
But as for the CCC Plus, I'm not sure,
Okay.
because you've got to be eligible for it.
Okay.
That's the thing is you've got to
Understand.
have those eligibilities for it. So this second page,
Would addiction be an eligibility? Do you know?
um,
I'm asking a granular question, but.
it makes sense. And the question was, would addiction be something that was eligible? It depends, I guess, on how severe with this top portion. Where will they be, in a facility? That would be
Gotcha.
definitely
Okay,
a
I see.
question for the care coordinator, because they'll have to screen and start the process and stuff like that.
Okay. Cool.
So the second handout, it'll actually have yellow highlighting here, but this handout goes more specific into each of the services that I was talking about. So the adult day health care, assistive technologies, environmental modifications, and so on and so forth. And it defines those better for you, and what the difference between a consumer directed personal assistant versus an agency-directed personal assistant. We use a lot of fancy names in my job. So the reason I have handouts for this waiver versus the second one I'm going to talk about is because, like I said previously, this CCC Plus waiver does not require a case manager. Now, this waiver here does. And case management services with IDDD population have certain diagnostic requirements. There has to be a psychological evaluation that's been done that diagnoses you with a certain IQ, with a certain diagnosis, whether it's mild ID, autism, severe ID. I don't do intakes and referrals, so I don't know exactly who and what is the cutoff. I can leave contact information for our office, which is in Urbana, Virginia, if you guys have questions and want case management services.
So if somebody thought they might need case management services for if there's, let's say you're a caregiver
Okay.
for someone who's got Alzheimer's,
Mm-hmm.
and you think you might need a case manager,
Mm-hmm.
who would they call?
So, for IDDD case management, so intellectual disability, developmental disability case management, you would call, you could call our office in Urbana, and as long as they have, like I said, a psychological evaluation and that has the diagnosis on it. If there's for like Alzheimer's, because that wouldn't be considered mental health. That's a medical. Because there is mental health case management, but they don't. I don't know if they work with the CCC Plus.
Okay, well, it's not particular to me. But you know, I was just thinking what people would be dealing with. So
I don't. The individuals that I work with, their disabilities are not brought apart by age.
okay,
So these are.
let's say nonverbal autistic.
Okay, so somebody with nonverbal autism would most likely qualify
But
for.
they would still need a psych eval.
Yes.
Okay.
And if they're school age, they're going to get that every
It's-
3 years at school, because part of your IEP process is there's an educational assessment every 3 years in the state of Virginia to redetermine if you still have that condition that requires special education services.
Gotcha.
So every 3 years it's done, no matter what county you live in. Now they can sit down at the table and say, as a team at this table, we believe that we have enough data that we do not need to perform another assessment. And the psychologist, the school psychologist, will write that as a report, and that's taken. Or they'll say 3 years has passed and we think maybe Johnny's got some changes and he's gotten older, so maybe things are more severe. And then the psychologist will perform her testing or his testing. Most of my meet are girls. They will perform their testing, write their report, and when they bring that back to the table at the actual triennial, then it's the psychologist, it's the teacher report
Right.
that gives the data, it's their report cards over that last 3 years, and they sit down and redetermine, yes, you still qualify for these services.
Okay.
And for school age children, a lot of times we request an interpretation report, and my department has a specific form that we send along. For individuals who are not school age, the psychological testing, I believe, is covered by Medicaid. So the only caveat with that is finding a place and getting in. I know Genesis in Williamsburg, my coworkers have had luck getting people in there, and if Genesis of Williamsburg is not available, they have other resources. I don't know any places offhand in Fredericksburg. I know I've researched it before, but I don't have any names But if anybody that's viewing this is interested and contacts Miss Debbie or Miss Sally, I can try to get some resources for you guys. So
There's a nursing home up by King George High School. I forget the name of it. Heritage Hall.
Yeah.
I'm curious if that may be a facility, because recently when I was assisting a person through hospice, I ran into someone there who may fit what you're saying, and I
and
was
be able to come home.
Yeah, and this person's brother lives at Westmoreland Shores,
Okay.
and so that Heritage Hall in Kings George, if you could possibly check that, if that would qualify, I would be curious.
So I don't know if the living facility would necessarily qualify, as long as the individual that you're speaking about has Medicaid. They should. I don't want to say should be qualified for CCC Plus and it not happen, but it sounds like they meet the enrollment criteria.
Okay.
So I would, if this individual's interested in moving back home, I would definitely call their Medicaid.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
they're the ones that manage this.
Okay.
A lot of our CCC Plus individuals, we refer back to Medicaid because that's not the waiver service that we really are experts about.
Okay.
We help along with it, but it's a lot on the care coordinators for your Medicaid.
Okay.
So, if your Medicaid's through Anthem, on the back of your card, it'll have if you have questions, call this person. If you have a care
Okay.
coordinator, call this person. But absolutely, if that person has a family member, a friend, somebody who wants to bring them home and they can get out of a facility, absolutely. That does remind me, with these waiver services, you can't double dip. So that means if you're receiving waiver services like aid and you do go into a nursing facility, the nursing facility then takes over. And the case management, like my case management,
Okay.
would be terminated if they went to a nursing facility.
Okay.
Because it's an institution based, not a real mental institution, but it's a facility.
I understand. You're actually touching on what I'm
Yeah.
talking
So
about.
That becomes a problem because then the facility isn't motivated to
Absolutely.
release the person and they don't have an individual that can help them.
Absolutely.
So
I've
what do
had.
you do in that case to get?
We have to discharge them.
my
I've had
God.
individuals become incarcerated, and we can't bill when you're incarcerated. We can't bill if you are admitted to the hospital. We can't bill if you're admitted to a nursing facility, and things like a hospital visit. If you're going to be in the hospital for 15 days, I'm not going to discharge you. But if you're going to be in the hospital long term,
Right.
I can't get my minimum requirements for case management,
Right.
and I may have to discharge you until you get out.
Okay.
Nursing facilities are normally a long-term care thing,
Yeah.
and we discharge unless it's a rehab center with the focus of we're going to get you in and out in 30 days. Same with incarceration. If it's a short-term incarceration, 30 days or less, I can keep you on my caseload. I just can't bill for you this month. But if we're talking about long-term, Medicaid is going to be like, you need to bill or you need them off of your caseload.
Okay.
Which,
Sounds like getting them out of the facility would be the trick.
Yeah. God,
And-
make it complicated.
my
It's
personal
very complicated.
Yeah.
My
Wow.
personal views are if you can keep somebody at home as long as possible,
Right.
keep them comfortable, keep them in their own environment, you're going to find people who love them more at home most of the time than in a facility with 20 or 30 other people that they've got to take care of.
That's why Sally wanted me to come here. I can see that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So the second, and I didn't make a copy of this because this is an entire book that I am not going to read from because we will be here forever and I'm tired. I do. I have a toddler at home and I've been in Colonial Beach since 8 a.m. and I live an hour and a half away. So thank you guys again for having me. So this waiver, and I'm going to do my best to explain it the best way I can.
And is it something you can send to me digitally and then I can include it
I
on the
can.
website?
I can. This is the DBHDS waiver.
Okay, yeah, if you send me the link, and I'll just put the link in the comments under the video.
I gotta find.
DBDHS.
I'll define
Okay.
Do you know if you're dealing with any people in the Meadows, the seniors section of the Meadows right now? Do you know?
it. Personally, on my caseload, no. If I was, I'd have to have consent from the individual.
No, I wouldn't. Yeah.
But I do not. I'm not familiar with the Meadows.
Okay. All right. Because there's a person I think that could actually use your service.
If that person's interested, as long as either them or their guardian, their personal advocate, somebody gives consent to speak with me,
Yeah.
I can assist you. And I
Okay.
can give you my contact information.
That'd be great.
I don't have my business cards. I can send Miss
That'd be
Debbie
great. I'll get it from you.
stuff.
Okay.
So,
Your office
this-
is at the Buzz?
Really? Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Along with Dr. Karen.
I might have to scan this in because this is just a packet that I've had in my desk and I have no idea where I got it from.
If you scan it, and then I can, make it a file?
Yeah,
and I
like
can-
a hyperlink a file.
Yeah, and we have, Accessibility Advocates has a Facebook page called Let's Explore Accessibility in Colonial Beach.
Okay.
And so we can pin it, I think
It
we
is the top
can,
of the page.
we can pin it
You can
and
make it
put
as
it in a
note,
file
yeah.
and make it, pin it in the thing. Yeah,
It'll
yeah,
probably-
lack of technical terms. I can smoosh it in there.
That was it.
It'll probably
Yeah.
be
I
next
get
week
smooshed.
because I'm not in the office again. till
That's
Wednesday.
There
fine.
are two of these. Do you
All right.
You do. Okay.
Do you have a liaison in Colonial Beach
Nope.
office?
So I am. So I may look. but
From Urbana?
I am. So
Okay.
I am just a general support coordinator.
Got
I
it.
have people above me, but the people in my position, my boss is super great. My bosses are super great because they give us caseloads that are kind of combined.
Yeah.
So instead of giving me 3 people in Colonial Beach and then I have Northumberland and I have Gloucester and then I got to go to Alet and then King and Queen,
Right.
they give me Colonial Beach.
Okay.
I've had Colonial Beach for about 2 years now. I've been working with the Community Options, which is my department, for about 2.5 years now.
She better treat lady.
So I'm the one that's out here. I do have another coworker who comes out to this area. Her name is Takia Peters. She is absolutely lovely. I absolutely love her. I love all of my coworkers, and all of us. We work hard.
I'll bet. You do.
It's a lot of work, but then again, it's not. It's fun. I love visiting my people. Like I said, I've been out here all day visiting people. I've had like 6 visits today. And I go and I come hang out, pet your dogs, we talk, how are you doing? Make sure your services are happy, or you're happy with your services. Make sure there's nothing you need. I help if you've got a new Medicaid bill and you need help speaking to Medicaid, trying to figure it out. If you need help scheduling Medicaid taxi, if you need help finding a service, that kind of stuff.
Have you? I'm sorry.
Oops. Yeah, I was just going to ask, if we were to find more people in need of your services in the Colonial Beach area, would they increase your staffing?
I don't know. Staffing it's hard.
Yeah.
Caseloads would probably increase. My caseload is I want to say 30, 25 maybe right now. It fluctuates.
Okay.
It fluctuates. I've worked with several individuals my entire time here. Some individuals get taken off. Some individuals get put on. It's kind of just how it moves. I've asked. I went out about 1.5 years ago on maternity leave, and my boss looked at me and said, do you want this caseload still? Because it's a hike out here. I won't lie. And I was like, I want it back. I love these people. So I specifically asked for everybody out here again. And you had a question.
Yeah, but I'm really caught up in what you're saying. Let me think a second. Are you familiar with Susan Mack?
No,
who's
I've never
like
heard
a social worker? Do you get most of your referrals like from churches? Where do you get them from?
So most of my people that I have are like lifers.
What is that?
So they've had services since they were kids
Got it.
because their developmental disability or intellectual disability was identified very young.
Okay.
But have I had any church? Maybe a church referral. Some people transfer in when they move into the area. Their
Yeah.
case management gets transferred to us. But anybody can put in a referral as long as there's consent.
I'm still sort of wondering why. I mean, I'm grateful that Sally told me to come here,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm like for lack of a better term, I'm a do-gooder,
Mm-hmm.
and I've run into people, and I'm thinking in this town, for every person I run into that maybe qualify for your services, there's probably between 5 and 10 that I don't know of in this town. Is that pretty accurate, you think? I've run into them like through working at the food pantry, with working in different places of need, and
Some people don't know what's out there.
I know.
And when I used to work in the mental health portion,
Okay.
and working with Medicaid specifically, and when I started in this field, one thing that made me really sad is that this stuff is only for people with Medicaid. So
Got it.
if you don't have Medicaid
Right.
and you need these services, unless you have really, really, really good insurance, you're paying for this out of pocket.
And everybody needs an advocate almost.
Everybody needs an advocate,
Everybody.
whether you have a disability or not.
And if you don't have an advocate, you become part of the homeless problem.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well,
Absolutely.
and then there's the other thing to consider. So I've had students and friends whose children with disabilities have gotten to adulthood, and when you get to that point and you have a severe disability, if you don't have Medicaid, once you qualify for the needs for a waiver that would send you to a nursing home, you're over 18,
Right.
you don't have an income. Then you get in the pipeline to get Medicaid as part of getting your waiver. Because I've had friends whose children turned 18.
Right.
When you're 18, you are supposed to be an adult.
Right.
So when you are 18 and you are in need of all of these services, even if you're living at home, they're not then looking at mom and dad's income and disqualifying you.
Oh my God.
Because you're then
Good.
a family unit of one
Okay.
living within that household.
Got it.
But a family unit of one, so where you didn't qualify when you were 17, you're over 18.
You know.
You can then, because I've had friends who had to pay enormous insurance bills. And once their folks got to be 18, it's a whole different ball game that's seen by the government because you're an adult. And now,
No
as an
matter what your
adult,
abilities are.
you have an income of 0. If you have 0, then we have to provide you with insurance.
Got it.
You have a disability.
Right.
Whoa, then you're in this category. So for those folks that you bump into that are over 18, and they live with mom and dad, that's okay.
It's okay.
Then they can get into some of this, channeling and get in there because they're just it's not the same.
Okay.
There are children and we take care of them, but from the government standpoint, the funding is looked at differently because they're an
That's
adult.
good. That's good.
I always like to say you can love your children, and you do love your children, but take off your mom hat.
Yeah.
You gotta. They are an
Right.
adult, and there's
Right.
I've run into people who want to have guardianship over their children, which mucks things up a little bit
Yeah.
for Medicaid. You can love them, and they can have their own Medicaid.
Okay. And you help navigate through all this.
Not Medicaid. I specifically help.
You can
with
get us to Medicaid.
services. I can help you. Yes, I can
Okay.
provide contact information for Medicaid.
Good.
I can help provide the lingo.
Got it.
But they're like Medicaid coordinators.
There's care coordinators. Yes.
Okay.
So care coordinators specifically work for they're called NCOs, which are kind of like
Okay.
big umbrella corporations. So think Anthem, Optima, help me out.
Okay,
Blue Cross
so
Blue Shield?
Kaiser, doesn't Kaiser still have an MCO? United Healthcare.
United Healthcare, Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Cigna.
So it's where like 10 years ago when you had Medicaid, you had a Medicaid card from the state of Virginia saying you had Medicaid.
Okay.
Now, like Tommy's Medicaid card says United Healthcare
Okay.
because his Medicaid is being managed through them. You know, I have friends who have Anthem and it's Medicaid, but their card is Anthem, and all of the requirements that the insurance has to do are what Anthem does.
Okay.
And there's an open season every November, and we get like 2 weeks to decide if you want to switch. And just like open season, if you work for the government and they give you these 20 insurances, you can see that each MCO does things just a tiny bit differently.
Okay.
Because like sometimes, isn't there now like with transportation, Medicaid provides transportation to and from medical appointments.
Yes.
Okay.
They call a number, you show your card. One of the MCOs will also provide transportation to a leisure event or shopping, but one time a month. So like if you want to go with your friends or you can shop on your own with, you know, meeting somebody there, but it's a new thing, but only that one MCO does it.
Oh, see, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, because there's one in Northern Virginia that will cover I'm trying to think of the term they use, 2 outings. Because if you are a disabled person at home and you need medical transportation to go to your day program and then to
Right.
go to your doctors, well, obviously, you're then chained to home. You can't go to Potomac Mills and go to the movies.
Right.
Well, I know Motive Care. Formerly Logisticare, and they set up transportation to like your day program. So I or somebody can put in it's called a standing form, and we can say, okay, this individual goes to this location from this location Monday through Friday. They need to be at day support at 8 a.m. Day support closes at 3 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
They require a wheelchair lift and need to be wheeled from door to door. And Motive Care essentially takes that in, puts it up on a dispatch board, and different dispatch companies like Carter's isn't right. Carter's is one. What's the one that you normally like?
Kingdom area.
Kingdom area.
I will tap you the name.
There's Kingdom. There's
I've seen Angel Care driving around.
Angel
Yeah.
Care. I think Southern Bells may. What's
Dog-
that?
dog
Doggett is a big one that does it. So they see, you know,
Dog.
this is my route. Okay, I'll take that job. So Motive Care is nice. All right, so this waiver packet, that's a beautiful tree. This one's a little bit more complicated. This waiver system specifically requires Medicaid or requires case management services, and it has a little bit stricter of application process and acceptance process. So this is through DBHDS, so the Department of Behavioral Health and Disability Services, or Developmental Services. DBHDS.
Health and Developmental Services, because
Yes.
it's DHS in Oklahoma where I'm from. Well, it's not DHS.
Yeah, no, this isn't DHS. This is specifically.
DS, okay.
DBH.
Health and HDS.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
So these waivers, before I get into what the waivers are,
Got it.
to be eligible for this waiver, you have to have case management services, and you have to pass, in Virginia, you have to qualify on an assessment tool that we use. It's called the VIDES assessment. The Virginia individual, I don't know what it means. I will let Ms. Debbie know what VIDES means. But it's an assessment tool we use that covers all areas of life. So we're talking about your communication, your community living, your health status, whether or not you can independently do your actions of daily living, whether or not you need help advocating if you're at risk of exploitation. So it's a scale that we use as case managers, and if you qualify on that assessment, you can be put on the wait list. As much as I love Virginia, we don't have enough resources for this population. So when you're on the wait list, there's 3 different priorities. Priority 1, 2, and 3. Priority 3 essentially says you're stable. You have services in place, whether it's a family member taking care of you, whether you're in school and the school is taking care of you, you're stable. Priority 2, you're getting a little bit more unstable. Maybe you came out of school and don't have services. Maybe your caregiver is aging. Maybe your home situation is a little chaotic. You need a little bit more support. And then there's priority 1. This is an imminent crisis. Your caregiver is gone. Your caregiver is going to be gone in a month. You are unstable. You need this service. So every so often we have it's a big meeting that our bosses go to. We don't attend it, our bosses go to it. Okay. And Virginia, or DBHDS, puts out X number of waivers. They say we have 10 waivers available. So as case managers, we put up our priority ones. Our bosses look at it. They say, okay, these are the people that have the highest need scores. Write me a justification on why this person needs a waiver. So we do that, and the people get awarded waivers. So there's 3 types of waivers that are awarded from DBHDS. So there's the community living waiver, the family and individual supports waiver, and the building independence waiver. The building independence waiver I know next to nothing about. I do not have anybody with a BI waiver. Actually, it's right here. It's for adults 18 years and older who are able to live independently. People with this waiver usually own, lease, or control their own living arrangements, and supports are complemented by non-waiver funded rent subsidies. They don't need supports all the time. So these are your higher functioning individuals. And like I said, I have never had a BI waiver. Wow. I'm more familiar with the CL, community living waiver, and the FIS waiver. The important difference between the two is under the CL waiver, the community living waiver, DBHDS funds for group homes, supported living, there's more independent living supports, shared living, sponsored residentials, and group homes. These are different forms of living by yourself with somebody else. So you have group homes where there's either 4+ or 5+ bed. You've got the bigger group homes. And then you can have smaller group homes, which can have, I believe it's 2 to 4 beds. Mm-hmm. And then you have things like shared living or supported living, where somebody has opened up their home to you and provides supports, partially during the day. They may help you with your meds, they may help you with meals, but other parts of the day, you're like roommates, kind of. So the community living waiver funds that. That's the big difference between the two. FIS, Family and Individual Supports Waivers, does not. Both offer employment and day services. So this is individual supported employment, group supported employment. They have workplace assistance, community engagement, community coaching, and group day. So if somebody wants a job, but may need some help, whether it's with accommodations, maybe they need a coach there, they need some sort of assistance, it provides the funding for that. There are a few resources, a few providers that offer that I know of. Again, if you guys are interested, I can give provider information. The community engagement and community coaching, this is specifically for going out in the community. You either meet out into the community, you meet somewhere and you go out and you learn how to live in a community and be a community member, which, you know, for somebody like you or I may not be something we think twice of, but for somebody who may need a little bit more assistance to find accessible places to socialize with others, even going to the store, just
Right.
having that help is awesome.
Right.
And then group day services, of course, are where you go. A lot of my individuals call it school because that's what it feels like. But there's places where they can learn skills. A lot of group day services go out into the community during the day. Don't think of it as a daycare because it's not. Think of it more like school. You learn stuff there, you do stuff there. One of my favorite day supports that I visit is in Warsaw. It's called Transitions. Every morning they do exercises, then they have a snack break, and then they work on skill building. So they do, there's puzzles, there's books, they can work on math, they can work on reading, they can work on any skill they want to do. There's computers there if they would like to use the computers, look up news articles, if they want to look for a job, if they want to, you know, go on educational websites, whatever's there. So it's great. A lot of people think of them as glorified daycares, and I can tell you what, good day supports, group day services are not glorified daycares.
It's an extension of what they did in school, but for an adult, and like for a parent who hasn't thought about this yet, when they get to that adult age and they're in an adult program, there is still, through the requirements of the waiver, there's a document that's done every year, an annual plan that to a parent is very much going to look like an IEP.
Yes.
And within that, while there are things that a caseworker is responsible for, things the caretaker is responsible for, an agency if they're providing any kind of nursing, there is a section there for the day program that in minute detail lists what they are responsible for,
Yes.
for the health and welfare of the person, and then to attempt to increase the person's ability to learn new skills and to participate in that environment, but what in that environment is going to carry over to the community. So, you know, like one that we were in Woodbridge, you know, like Tommy learned to do his recreational things at his day program, but then he also learned how to do it when they were out in public. So, you know, you can do these things at day program. When we go out to the mall, you're not going to play your piano, you're going to play radio. You're going to do different things, but it is, because some people think it's just they're going to do whatever and walk in and do whatever like it's an adult play group, and it is the governmental requirements of that place are very specific. And when the kids, I have adults, I call them kids, when they go home at 2:30, 3 o'clock, there is staff there filling out Medicaid required forms for another hour. Because if they don't get paid.
And I've seen skills transfer to home, individuals that work on learning how to fold laundry, which is, again, to you or I, that is just a chore. We don't want to do it. It's going to sit in our closet forever. But for an individual that's learning it, that's excited to learn it, they can help out at home now. They help cook their lunches, heat up their lunches. A lot of day supports assign quote-unquote chores to help with the upkeep of it. So, you know, maybe after lunchtime, it's your turn today to wipe down the tables. It may be your turn tomorrow to make sure the paper towels are filled in the bathroom. So along with having fun there, they're learning these independent skills. So other services that are available to both FIS, the Family and Individual Supports, and the CL waivers, the Community Living waivers, are the self-directed options, the consumer-directed personal assistance like we had with the CCC Plus waiver. There's personal assistance, respite, and then they added a companion. So for companion, that's if, so say I'm taking care of you as my mother or as my daughter, and I need a break. So I have respite come in. Or I'm taking care of you for 8 hours a day, but you just want a friend. So we have a friend come in, and it's just a companion to you. I'm not helping you with anything. We're hanging out, we're doing each other's nails, we're doing a puzzle together, we're knitting together. That covers for that. So this is giving
That's pretty cool.
meaningful relationships.
Right.
And of course, you don't have to always have paid relationships to be meaningful, but this allows for someone to come and just hang out,
Right.
you know.
And then sometimes that leads to the whole triad of people learning the skills so that it then does start occurring naturally in the community.
Being able to
Absolutely.
make friends.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And sometimes it's that parent learning to let go.
Yeah.
That, you know, they can move a table over and, you know, and leave their adult child with another person safely.
Right.
So we also, DBHDS also has crisis support options. There's community-based crisis support, center-based crisis support, and crisis support services. Now, I've never personally used any of these. So I'm not entirely sure what they look like for funded services through the waiver.
Is that Reach? Is Reach one of those?
Yes, but I think it's also funded just for anybody that needs it.
Okay.
If you're comfortable with us having a PDF of this,
Oh, absolutely.
then we can actually share that more broadly, and
Oh, absolutely.
someone could get the information from there.
Yeah, because it's got the BI waiver information, community living, like it literally just says with the community living waiver, you have access to blah, 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 blah.
Cool. Okay.
So I probably should have done better.
No, oh my
Exactly.
God.
you've
No,
been-
no,
Getting
you're
this
fine.
ready.
You're
For the time
fine.
I've been
You've
very
given us
helpful.
so much amazing information.
I still
I
have
mean,
two sections too.
and-
Oh, okay.
Seriously, this is stuff that sometimes takes an entire day
yeah.
to
Absolutely.
boom, boom, boom.
Oh,
so
I could talk about this all day. every day.
yeah,
I'm
so
tired.
so
Okay,
getting
well,
people the beginnings and the knowing that it's out there and that they can start researching it, and we'll give them follow-up locations to go to. I think it's going
Debbie,
to be
did you
good.
set this up or did you set this up?
Debbie did.
I did.
Okay.
Debbie.
I know you just recently joined Neighbor to Neighbor. I saw your name on there.
Next
Yes.
Are you
yes.
are you part of Neighbor to Neighbor yet?
Is that the one that Becky
With Bill and
Becky
Becky.
and
Yeah,
Becky
I
and
haven't
Bill.
because I'm actually doing caregiving for my parents right now.
Okay.
So I've been hesitant
God, that makes
to
all
sign
kinds
up.
of sense.
Yeah.
There's something that's sort of growing organically out there called Neighbor to Neighbor.
I was talking to Deacon Sally about it today.
Okay.
Yes, you talked to
Okay, good. This would be extremely helpful,
Mm-hmm.
you know, as we're sort of venturing out, not knowing anything,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and meeting all these people. Well, we're already meeting people who have needs that we're not sure
Yeah.
where they access it. So, I'd like to invite you I'll talk to Bill and Becky about
Absolutely.
it, and you'll help me, right?
Sure.
Okay,
Absolutely.
Bill and Becky
Are
about
you
it.
okay to do things
Yeah,
like this?
I'm up here once or twice a month. I try to schedule my days jam packed full, so
Yeah.
I don't have idle time.
Right.
And get what I need done for my work, and then I can help with the community as well. Yeah, whatever I can do to assist.
Are you allowed to go to lunch on Valentine's Day?
What day is Valentine's Day?
Tuesday
You
that
may not be here on
See,
Valentine's Day.
We're
My husband has the tiny pterodactyl only on Wednesdays and Thursdays because those are his weekends.
Okay.
So that's when I can come out because I have the tiny pterodactyl Monday, Tuesdays, and Fridays,
Okay.
and she
This is your
controls my
toddler,
life.
right?
Yes.
Okay.
She's squeak-
Only
she's
reason-
squeals. She's
only
a tiny
reason I'm saying is
pterodactyl.
that we have an event
Mhm.
on Valentine's Day for seniors from the Meadows
Mhm.
that Bay Transportation will be helping us get them there from the Meadows and then taking them home. And my hope was that maybe you could just come and just sort of join us for lunch, but also just sort of take a look at the people that we're already helping in a way, because I can already think of one, maybe two out of the group who are candidates for this, and my guess is
The CCC plus.
that the Deacon Sally, that's how I got a message from her on my phone about this.
So with the elderly population, the only thing is they would have to have that IDDD
Got it.
diagnosis for the
Got it.
this specific waiver.
I got it.
And I don't know just in general about the elderly population, like what services are available for
Okay.
that population.
And Susan Mack might be a resource.
Susan Mack, there's a person,
So that's the population she's worked with.
yeah, she's worked with, and that's how I got hooked up in all this, was through Susan. The person that I ended up helping through hospice, Susan got him off the street, you know, helped
I've
him.
got Bobby.
Yeah, you know Bobby.
I worked with him.
Oh, did you? Okay, and she facilitated a lot of different things. Insurance and all those kinds of things, and that's
I was talking to Miss Debbie earlier. It's a big thing is people don't know the channels to go through.
no, I
and
don't.
the what's out there and what to say to spark these
What's the language?
conversation.
Right.
Yeah, it's taken me
And
2 good years to learn it.
Well, and I'm thinking it might be, especially like for neighbor to neighbor with people traveling, where we can like develop a little checklist.
Yeah.
You know, do you have insurance? Do you have Medicaid? You know,
That's great.
but and what may happen right now is that they may say, yes, I have Blue Cross, but it may be that Blue Cross is the MCO.
Okay.
So there may be like maybe just a series of like 10 questions that we can put down. And you know what? I meet so many people who are adults that when I get partially into a conversation, 4 years in special ed, and then I'll go, did you receive services when you were in school? And they go, yes,
Okay.
I had an IEP. Bingo. We have a whole nother route that's available, because really when you get kicked out of school, when you age out,
Right.
nobody is there anymore to take your hand
That's
unless
right.
you're very severely disabled.
Right.
If you're in that mild to moderate range, you're on your own
Right.
and you're making do. But once because there are a few people over the last 10 years that I've bumped into, and then I'm like, so, okay. Now they may say I rode the short bus.
Right.
If you live in the country, you're going to ride a short bus anyway.
I get it.
But, you know, the more I talk to them, I'm like, okay, so did you receive any service? And they'll be like, well, you know, I went to a special school,
Right.
or I had therapy.
Right.
And then that can open the conversation to, well, then maybe this is something we can still look at.
Okay.
Because it's just, so there may be some way, maybe with Susan and Deacon Sally, we can sit down and make like just a quick checklist that any of you can ask.
Right.
But then when you come back and there's a yes and a yes to this,
Right.
we go, okay, it's time to call
And they're, and
her.
they're calling us and they're saying, I got this problem.
Yeah.
You've already done some of the necessary
Yes.
work. Okay, got
Yeah, so then we would know what channel
it. Got it.
to direct
Yeah,
them
this
through,
is
kind of
helpful.
deal. So,
Thank you for setting this up.
oh, you're welcome.
Did you broadcast this somewhere?
I did.
Where?
I did. It was in all the Facebook groups.
really
It was
great.
on Parks and Rec. It
How did I miss this? Okay.
That
Because I'm on all that stuff. I'm glad somebody called me.
things are becoming more, and when I was telling her, things are becoming more accepted. The language is changing. You don't look at somebody in a grocery store that looks different than you, but at least I don't. And you know, the language that was used to describe that person 10 years ago
Right.
has very much changed. I try to be very conscious. I was raised probably not with the best language from my parents because they're old school. But I try to consciously change my language. So it's not an autistic kid. It's an individual with autism. It's a gentleman with autism, or it's a gentleman.
Except My son-in-law, who is autistic,
Mhm.
claims himself as autistic.
Okay.
He doesn't like to. He says, just ask the person.
Oh.
You know, if they're verbal, just say, "Do you prefer this or
Absolutely.
this?" And he says because 100% of the time he'll say, "I'm autistic,"
Absolutely.
which
If
I think is interesting.
if
you
it's
know.
somebody that is verbal and you know them well enough that you feel comfortable saying, "How would you like me to refer to you?" Go for it. People are people.
Cool.
The only other things that are on here after the crisis supports are the medical and behavior options. So you have skilled nursing through the DBHCS waiver as well. Private duty nursing. There's also something called therapeutic consultation, which I believe that's the same thing as ABA, right? It's like
I
behavioral
think that's the
supports.
nicer term now for ABA,
Therapeutic.
support, and
it's
because it would
essentially-
be, because sometimes now Medicaid is covering like chunks of time, so they'll give like 40 hours of ABA in a month, and then if some progress is made, then they will continue that, or then they roll it back to where you get virtual consultation
Yeah.
with the head ABA person to give the parent, the teacher, the adult daycare tools that they should be attempting to implement.
So ABA and therapeutic consultation, for those you know, who don't know the terms, it's behavioral supports. So if you have an individual who has severe behaviors, whether it's hitting, biting, spitting, or acting out, screaming, cursing. Eloping is a big one, which means
Eloping?
running away.
Yeah, running away.
Oh,
Leaving the
That's-
designated area.
Educationally, we never say a child runs away. We say they're in danger of elopement.
Yes.
And that means you turn your back and they're gone.
Yes.
Okay.
And
They're
there,
gone.
There are resources for elopement, specifically in this county, that I can help with. I know I've spoken to, I don't remember the deputy's name. It was somebody in Westmoreland County, but they have something called Project Lifesaver, which is funded through the county. It's county by county basis, but this county is funded through the county, where you get a it's a device on. Think of one of those like festival bands that you can't pull off, but plastic version.
Right.
They come out once a week and replace the battery and check on you. So your person develops a positive relationship with law enforcement, and you have a locator that's literally unable to be taken off. So if somebody wanders away, they decide to elope, you can call and say, "Hey, where is he pinging?" And you can get them and bring them to safety.
So law enforcement knows to look for that if this person hasn't been reported, but they're out in the street and all of a sudden they find themselves in a situation.
I
Law
don't
enforcement
know
knows
if
to look
it's-
for that.
I don't know if they monitor it other than like the family calling or the friends calling.
But if they
Yeah.
see someone with the bracelet, they can
If they were to take someone in, it's an obvious bracelet that is
Yeah.
not a
And they're
Fitbit. That
familiar
is.
with it.
Yes.
Okay.
I know
They
at one
should.
time they said like sheriff's department or something on
Okay.
the bottom. So
I've seen just plain white ones.
okay.
I don't know if they've changed them up, and if for some reason the individual doesn't want them on their arms,
Right.
they have them on their ankles too.
Okay.
But it's not like a
house arrest.
house arrest. Like you can go, like you can
No.
take them wherever you want.
Right.
But this is more of a safety measure of if this person has a history of leaving designated areas, and that's not just like wandering to the next aisle in the grocery store. Like I'm talking about leaving your house in the middle of the night and ending up 6 blocks over, peeping in somebody's window.
Okay.
You know, and the families will know, like, hey, that's great, or nah, not for me. So the other thing is, this has the assistive technologies and the environmental modifications as well. I've gotten ramps for individuals. I'm currently working on a couple lifts for individuals. These are Hoyer lifts that'll help individuals who fall on the ground. I've gotten an iPad for an individual to help with communication. There's all sorts of things you can get. And sometimes you have to go through Medicaid. It's called durable medical equipment, and those are things like wheelchairs, some
Walkers.
scooters, walkers, and if Medicaid says no, that can be an assistive technology that we can go for. Again, it's going to take some time. It takes me a couple of months because you've got to get the device, like you've got to research the device. I've got to get a prescription from your doctor. A lot of times I have to have a letter of medical necessity from your doctor that's saying why they've assessed you and say you need this device, so we're not just ordering devices willy-nilly. I have to write up a justification as a support coordinator saying why I think you need this device, and then we submit it all, and my bosses do all that, and then they come and tell me to order it. And then it's a big process, and it's every year, so it's not $5,000 for assistive, $5,000 for environmental at a rolling year. If I get you something approved December 5th
Right.
for $5,000, on January 1st, that $5,000 resets,
Okay.
which is great. I thought it was a rolling year, which would be really terrible because
Right.
if you need multiple things and you need them bam, bam, bam.
Is part of that process to protect you all from liability also? Say, for in fact, that what somebody might decide that this person needs just because they think they're helping them out and all of a sudden they get hurt or it wasn't what they needed. Is there a liability associated with that?
I don't know if it's a liability, more of we need to justify without question
Okay.
for DBHDS to
Okay.
give that money out.
Because one of the things
That's a
that one of
lot.
Sally's projects is to find a place to store used equipment
Mhm.
so that anybody who might need it in town, whether it be a walker or a wheelchair.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we're looking for a way to not only store it, but administer it, make sure that it's maintained, that kind of stuff. Now, it's just curious,
Well, and
are we taking on a liability by doing that?
no.
Okay.
We have been using for years in Fredericksburg the Disability Resource Center on Princess Anne Street.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
It's run out of the
I'm
ARC.
keeping mine.
Okay.
They have a building that's on Princess Anne, and they have an engineer who staffs it.
Okay.
People donate beds, wheelchairs, shower commodes,
Right.
walkers, crutches. I've gone there for temporary things for my kids, and I've gone there to pick up things for students. We sign a thing
Right.
that just says they're loaning it to us.
Got it.
We sign it, and it's like a long-term loan. They don't want it back. They don't need it back. He's got stuff coming out his ears.
Right.
But that is available
Okay.
right down the road in Fredericksburg. So
Okay.
if people have an immediate need,
Okay.
he maintains it, and he'd be somebody who could give you all guidance.
That would be great.
He maintains the equipment. He gives suggestions for people who are coming in. Do you really need a wheelchair? Or there are also, I don't know if you've ever seen, like,
It's super fun.
we have medical strollers that fold up, but they can carry larger than children. Like medical
It can be.
strollers go up to like
It can be.
150 pounds.
Okay.
But you can fold it and put it in your trunk.
Okay.
And you're going to push it. It's not a person using the wheels.
Got it.
They have all that. He can make suggestions. But the gentleman down there's been,
Most of my
he
issues.
replaced a guy who'd been there for like 10 years. He's been there for at least since before COVID.
Mhm.
Very knowledgeable. He's in there. He works. He actually repaired.
Not so
Tommy
much.
had a wheel broken on his wheelchair just before COVID, and the process for me to get it repaired through the vendor, through Medicaid, through all that, they weren't even going to come to my house for 3 weeks.
Right.
Tommy couldn't leave the house.
Right.
He's 140 pounds.
Right.
I brought his wheelchair down there. The guy actually had a spare wheel that fit.
Nice.
Switched it all up for me. I still continued my process of ordering the brand new part, but he got us going and on the road.
This is what
And he got my
sounds
kid
like.
back out of the house. But you need to go down there and talk to him.
I will.
Disability
Definitely.
Resource Center.
Okay.
And maybe, you know what, I'll put that information on the Let's Explore Accessibility page too.
Sounds good.
So it's there, and you can have his contact
Excellent.
information.
Excellent.
And there's no, you don't bring in any insurance cards or anything. You just go in there, tell him
Right.
what you need, and he checks it out to you.
Okay.
See, and that's more of a community resource. I don't have anything to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
Are you good to wrap up?
We are good to wrap up.
Because I'm gonna let Amanda go home to see her toddler.
Thank you.
Her pterodactyl.
Yeah, my
Thank
you.
pterodactyl.
So-
I also call her a tiny terrorist because she terrorizes me, but I don't know how appropriate that is.
How old
But
is
yes.
she?
15 months.
15 months. Congrats.